Yo, welcome to the Road Less Travel podcast, where we interview and highlight individuals that have taken the road less travel and pursuing non-traditional careers with hopes of inspiring you, the viewers, along your journey. I'm here with my co-host, Des Arnaz, and our special guest, Jordian Ross, who embodies someone who has taken the road less travel. You do a lot of things, man. So get into that a little bit. Let the people know exactly what you do before we talk about how you got there.
Yeah, man. I do a lot. You know what I'm saying? Animal House, that's the company. We do music. I do artist management. We just launched a distribution arm this year. I do consultant work. I'm just an artist helper, man. I produce. It's a long line of things that, kind of make up my career path at this point. So.
No, that's dope. That's dope. I mean, we personally have had the pleasure of seeing this thing start from the very beginning. But even from what we've seen, I'm sure there's a million things that only you, your business partners have got to see and experience behind the scenes. So somebody that's come from Columbus, Ohio, like how did you end up in the music industry? Like what inspired you to go that direction? What led you there?
Man, I think just entertainment was like one of our first hustles. You know what I'm saying? Being Des Arnaz, the mayor in Columbus, just even in high school, man, just promoting parties with Fundy and, passing out flyers, just really learning how to hustle in entertainment was like, just that first feeling of being empowered as a youth, you know what I'm saying? And, when I went to college, I got into promoting concerts and shows and with some of my big bros.
So correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you go to school for something in the event space? Like I remember you moving to Chicago. Yeah. I know you lived in DC, you're now in New York, but along that journey, did you go to school for anything involved?
Yeah, man, I went back to school in Chicago. Okay. Yeah, my first undergraduate experience, I kind of just floated through, got my degree, got up out of there. But I went to Chicago, Columbia College, Chicago. Shout out to that program. It was fire. But I went to study arts and entertainment management. So that's where I really honed in on what it takes to be an entrepreneur, what it takes to kind of sell my services if I want to do consultant work. And then also, obviously artist management, entertainment, law, all things that pertain to entertainment, you know what I'm saying? So that was a fire program, man. But yeah, back to your original question. I learned how to promote in college, primarily on the concert side of things, booking talent and stuff. Graduated school and, we did the Dom Kennedy show first and kind of fell in love with it, man. And, the rest is history.
Dope. Those early Animal House days was crazy.
Absolutely. Speaking of the early Animal House days, Jordy, I think it's important to kind of hone in on that and kind of explain to the people that's not familiar with the Animal House brand and when you start really, I would say, start getting your first looks in the city as far as, doing the shows, Dom Kennedy, Chance the Rapper. There's a lot of artists that, Kendrick Lamar, like a lot of artists, like you kind of gave them their first look for Columbus. So I think it's important to kind of, touch on those stories and explain to the people like how that's kicked off.
Yeah, man. Well, what's funny is, the first Animal House was you, Craig and Des, L.E., Fab, P Black. Really just,
it was just like a party concert.
Party concert hybrid, which we kind of kept that format, which kind of made our events a little bit more enjoyable. But yeah, man, I think, like I said, learning in college, bro, just having that access, Twitter, it was really Twitter, man. Twitter and the blog era, it was a little bit easier to reach out to talent at the time. So, the Dom Kennedy show, shout out to Archie and Dom, and without that first win, I don't know if I would have, had the confidence to keep going. And then after that, we did the Kendrick Lamar show. The artists are abundant, man. Stolly, Chance the Rapper, I think pulled up, twice. Did the crazy thing about Chance, man, he came down here for $250. Him and Pat, they was just like, yo, man, we appreciate the look. We about to go on tour. We in Columbus, Ohio was the first stop, I think, for his first tour. So yeah, man, 21 Savage, which was actually took an L on that show. It was a little too early for the market. But yeah, man,
One person that people might sleep on, I mean, they may know if they into music now, but Nemo, who works with Jack Harlow now, He was on a couple of Animal House.
Yeah. Shout out to Nemo, man. He did a couple, and he was always just a big inspiration for, I think all of us.
Yeah, because he was ahead of his time. People really.
We was all working in the Midwest. We was all connected, and that's what really, I would say, empowered a lot of what we had going on, was really kind of circling out or encircling that Midwest connection, whether it was booking Joe Fresh Goods and Big Lloyd from Chicago, booking Warren Peace and Nemo from Kentucky, the homies Corey Grant in Cleveland.
Yeah.
I really tried to just create something bigger for Columbus that would empower our artists, and then also, build a brand for myself as I wanted to choose, music as a career. I knew that, we all Columbus we had a ton of concerts, you know what I'm saying? I never forget going to Wayne and stuff like that, but none of that felt like it was like a music brand or something that was kind of, presenting it. It was just, oh, Wayne's coming to the city, but with Animal House, it felt like this is something that is being curated. These are some guys who really know music or understand the value of artist development too, right? So just bringing those kids to the city early, man, it helped us create a brand for ourselves that people around the country was like, yo, somebody in Ohio knows what's going on.
Absolutely.
I could call agents and they'd be like, okay, we saw y'all was doing this show or that show. So yeah, man.
And I don't want to skip over that piece. Like, I think for me, like, just from being a fan of what you've been doing this whole time, that's been the coolest thing to see, like, is you pull these artists in so early in their career. And like, you pulling in Kendrick, bro, you had him in a space that fit with 200 something people. Kendrick can't even walk past that space now without shutting it down. And you had the foresight to see something in these artists, whether it was you just kind of heard the buzz or you just seen something in their talent that you knew it was on time, or it was just, how do you have that knack for artists? Because it's something that's common along your journey. Like, even artists that you work with now, like it kind of seemed like you got a knack for catching people before everybody else does.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. It's funny because I really be trying to break down like what that is. But I think it's just, shout out to my partners, Chris Marsby, who we started Animal House with. Those early days, his taste and his knowledge and really his hunger for what we was doing was very important. And then now, my partner Will, we just kind of, I don't know, man, we just got a ear, and also just a sight, right? Like, talent is one thing, but also this is a business, you know what I'm saying? So to be able to see teams and artists that understand, how to grow, how to market themselves, make the right moves, all that is kind of taken into consideration when it's like, okay, this is somebody that I'm gonna keep my eye on, you know what I mean?
For sure.
But those days, those early days, it was easier because the curation space was a lot more vibrant. So it was a lot easier to just kind of, get on Twitter, see who the popular tastemakers were kind of pushing, the blogs, you know what I'm saying, those early blog days. And then obviously, just kind of thinking about who we liked and, what was fire to us. It's funny, me and Dez were just talking the other day about Bowling Green and how, Big Sean, all his boys went to school with us. And he would be on campus with us. And I tried to put Dez on the shot early.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
He wasn't going. He wasn't going.
Early adapter. I wasn't early adapter.
But yeah, I mean, I was a little late compared to, when I was like, oh, he got something. But, I think it's just, proximity, having people around me with good ears and good taste, and then just like, how can we create something that creates value for the artist and then also pushes our brand, our platform forward.
For sure.
I remember, we talk every day, but I remember, you were a part of the early South by South wave. And I remember when you said, like, you taking that trip was like the turning point for Animal House. It was just like an important, when you came back from that trip, you said like that solidified you, like, yeah, this is it. Like, I'm in the right space.
Yeah.
Can you kind of like, because I feel like today people don't, it's the gift and the curse, right? So, we got these, DSPs and all that stuff. Like, it's easier to access music, but we don't get to live with music like we used to. We were the blog era, so we really got to see artists even cultivate themselves. We got to see the early adapt, Don Kennedy, Wiz Khalifa, and all them like kind of blew up off the blogs. You feel me? And South by Southwest was another one of those key points because all those guys were out there.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of important to kind of just, for those that didn't get to experience that, I don't know what that is, kind of share your experience when you was down there and how was that turning point for you?
Yeah, nah, man. Funny enough, I felt like we were a little late, to be honest. We got down there in the sweet spot.
Yeah, you did.
But the years prior, I felt like we were actually a little bit late when it came to South by Southwest. Not too much. We got down there at a sweet spot, but those years prior, man, just looking from afar, it was some really cool stuff happening. You know what I'm saying? Like all-star basketball games. And you really got to see like fans super close to the artists. You know what I'm saying? At a level where even, 4 or 5 years later, it was kind of a little bit more dangerous for artists to just even be out on the street like that. But yeah, we got down there in 2013. Shout out to Fam, my homie Fam. He used to run a brand called Never Rich from Cleveland. And then also my homie Pesh over at Live Mixtapes. So we partnered with Live Mixtapes. We got a fire venue down there. We booked probably about 40 artists, man. It was crazy. We had inside stage and outdoor stage. And it was there to Dez's point, bro. It was just, for me, it was another one of those moments where it was like, yo, this is something that we doing for real. We out here with, some of the biggest artists in the country, some of the biggest brands and platforms in the country. And our platform is something that people are seeing in a new light, So, that year was fire. I can't remember a lot of the names on our bills, man, but
We got some, I think Uzi was one of them before.
that was 15. So,
okay.
So 15 was the year I felt like really platformed us for real. So for 13, 14, we partnered with Live Mixtapes, both of those years. And 15, we went down there and did our own showcase. And that bill was super fire. We had Chance on that, or not, Chance popped out on that bill. But we had Uzi on that bill. Dej Loaf at the time was on fire. She headlined. Denzel Curry. Yeah, Denzel Curry was on that bill. Post Malone was on that bill. And I was during like Post's like ascension, the White Iverson time. You know what I mean? So that was a good moment. Uzi was kind of having that ascension at the time too. And a ton of other acts, man. Lucky was on that bill. We had all the Ohio homies down there.
Sure.
Yeah, we actually booked a big crib and just had like, a ton of kids from Ohio kind of travel with us. And some of the New York homies stayed in our B&B. And yeah, man, that South by was, for me,
Special time.
yeah, special time. And like, all right, our brand is growing nationally.
So where you are now, when you look back at those times, do you get like that feeling of like, man, I just remember the early grind days. We had the Insomniacs and you had the festival at OU.
Numbers Fest.
You had the stage at Numbers Fest. That was the Animal House stage. Like all these things that you did so early on. When you think about them now, like, does that feel like the sweet spot? Like, man, I remember when we was just young and grinding, or is it like we still so deep in the grind that I don't really have time to sit back and reminisce on those moments?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of both, but I talk to Dez all the time. Like, it's still a grind.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? I flew here from New York, but I was in LA
I seen that
the week before. So it's still a grind every day, man. Just because I always say like, if I don't kill, I don't eat.
for
You know what
sure.
I'm saying? So, but nah, that time too, though, I do reminisce on those days, but not, just because that was a sweet spot in music, I felt like,
Yeah.
to Dez's point, it was either prior to DSPs or early DSPs. And, the way that artists were climbing and, taste making and curation, just the culture was in a sweeter spot. You know what I'm saying? So I think about those days a little bit, but I don't have a lot of time to be looking back too much.
And do you think that going to South by Southwest and just those moments where you had to leave the city, going to a new place, slightly uncomfortable, trying something new, is that kind of what led to you moving from Columbus? Or was it you just kind of, what made you feel like it's time to go?
Nah, that I was ready to go before that.
Before that?
Yeah, as soon as I graduated what, 2009. I tell Dez this all the time, bro. I came home and I'll keep the nice version for the interview, but I used to tell Dez like, yo, bro, this ain't it.
Yeah.
We got it's levels, and I credit that a lot to my bros, and a lot of the homies from Cleveland. I got to give it up. They was just grinding and hustling at a different pace. And I was just like, yo, we got to up it. You know what I'm saying? Especially if it's, on the music side of things, at least if it's something that you want to do on the music side, there's a art and an intention behind brand building rather than just hustling. You know what I'm saying? So, I graduated 2009. By 2011, I was just like, I gotta go. For that reason, and just from being in the hometown, getting into how hometown shit is. I was just like, yo, I can imagine me just being here and just like being around the wrong things. You know what I mean? So, 11 is when I went to DC. With the intention to just leave. You know what I'm saying? I had some, just to take a deeper dive into my personal story. I had some money from my father who was in the Army, so they had like a GI Bill or whatever. So I was able to go back to school, and one of my best friends was going to law school in DC, and I just was like, yo, bro, I'm going with you.
For sure. I remember going to a Howard homecoming weekend, I think, and y'all had the B&B. And I think I met your homie a couple of your homies that you was there with. So that's dope. That's dope. Talk about that transition a little bit from Columbus to DC.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did you adjust? What was it like? Was it just like instant, like, man, here I am, here go? Or was it like some growing pains involved in that?
DC was cool. DC was good, man. Cause I went to school. I went to AU. At the time, I went to school for videography. Remember, I used to run around with the camera for a second out here. But I guess to keep the conversation around the transition, just being a student, I enjoy school, man. I like being in those environments where people are just hungry for knowledge and for success. You know what I'm saying? So just being around like-minded people, I was happy to get back around that. Because I had been out of school for like 2 years, and people were doing whatever. You feel me? So just being back in school, I was good out in DC, but I was doing the video thing, and I was doing good, but while I was down there, we booked Kendrick Lamar up here. So I was just like, I didn't finish the second semester. The first semester we did the Kendrick Lamar show, and the second semester I was like, this is a dub. I want to do the music shit full time.
And that's that moment that you knew, like, nah, full time. This is what I want. This is who I am.
Yeah, because the video shit was cool, and it was a skill that I feel like I wanted to attain, but once we pulled that show off, and then just like how I was spending my time and what I was doing every day, it lended itself to, this career path a lot more. So
what you doing DC, you doing Chicago, what led you to New York?
So I'm gonna touch on Chicago real quick too, because I feel like, growing pains, right? Yeah. So Chicago was a lot rougher than DC. The program was fire, school was fire. But I feel like my network, even though, like Joe and them was there, my network was it just felt smaller for whatever reason. So, a lot of times I just kind of felt dolo a lot. And then the city just kind of reminded me of home a lot too. DC is a big melting pot, you feel me? And Chicago's a little segregated. So, that was tough for me. I stayed there for, I think, a year and a half, and I came back here. And then while I was here, I think we started in the party series. Just taking some of that stuff that I learned. Probably did some shows. I can't recall the time period, but honestly, it was Chris Mars that was like, yo, we got to go to New York.
Mm-hmm.
And, it sounded crazy, but I was just like, shit, let's get it already.
So the Chicago time period, is that around the time when y'all started Courtesy Of, or was that before, after? What's that time frame look like?
I think because came back.
I feel like that was a moment also where you constantly, it's just like you couldn't escape music.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't escape the scene. And as you talk about your story, it kind of feels like that was just your calling. Like you tried to do other things, you explored other avenues, and everything just kind of led you back to music.
Yeah, man. I'm pretty sure it was that time period. Only reason why I'm a little confused about it, when we started that series at Scully's too, with Harold. I think it was like Break the Rules or something like that.
Yeah.
Some party series we started out here. But it led to, Courtesy Of, and to your point, Courtesy Of was just something that I felt like the city needed at the time. Like, how do we kind of shake the scene up, blend these taste levels and these,
There was nothing at that time for that culture, for that scene.
Right. So, I was trying to grab, you guys, Lavelle, EG, like, how do we come together and, mix the hood niggas with the hipsters? You feel me? Like, that was the goal. So, Courtesy Of was fire, man. I just posted it on my story the other day because, 21 shouted out Key, as someone who kind of introduced him to Metro Boomin and helped him start rapping. And I think was that the first one?
I think he was the first one.
That was the first one we did, and I was.
And 21 Savage was
I
it.
feel like that might have birthed that scene like in Columbus. Like I know there was like Get Right and OG and there was stuff like that, but I don't feel like the young creatives, like that era of young creators, I don't feel like there was a scene.
Courtesy of was definitely the one that took it
I
to
feel
the
like
next level, in my opinion.
Yeah, man. For us, bro, even before Courtesy of, man, Ohio Against the World threw a party up here, and I think they had Chris DJ, and that's when we met Tony. I think I might have known Tonisha before that, but Tonisha and Will.
Yeah.
And the party was so fire. I was like, yo, we got to start doing shit together because y'all get it too. You know what I'm saying? And,
Shout out to Toes and Will.
Yeah, shout out to Toes. That's what Toes since Walnut Ridge days.
Yeah. So that's funny. That first Courtesy of was actually it was part of the Key tour. Remember we did that Key holiday tour. So we took Key on a couple routes around the Midwest, like 4 or 5 shows. And that show that party was one of his first stops on that tour, man. So
was Key the first artist that you like worked close with other than booking for a show? Like what was that first artist that you worked with outside? I know you work with a lot of artists from the hometown.
Yep.
But like who was that first artist that you ventured out and worked with?
I think Chance's team was probably the first one I truly connected with. We didn't do a lot of work together, but you know, I went up to Chicago a few times, hung out, seen 10 Day Live when he was doing that show up there. And, you know, he came out here twice. And so, you know, there was a decent relationship there. But yeah, 2-9 as a group, that was one of the first kind of bonds I made with an artist and a team. You know, I did South by with him. I think I was running around with Reese, staying in B&Bs down there. I think he hit Ohio probably during that time period. He probably hit Ohio like 5-6 times.
Yeah.
We brought 2-9 up here at least twice.
For sure.
So.
Now I remember them 2-9 days. Like that's how I got hit to 2-9 is by you, Ash, you know, just like that time period. They was
shout out to Ash too.
Shout out to Ash. Ash don't get her just due. She was definitely always ahead of the game, always ahead of her time.
Yeah, she left. She got up.
Because she knew. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
she had the foresight. Yeah. I mean, I think that era of like that when that scene was being birthed in Columbus, the people who were creating that scene here kind of seen the writings on the wall. They did what they could, and then they went and expanded. Because I think about you, Toes. I think about Ash. I think about Chris, Will. You know, just the people who curated that scene here. I feel like y'all all had to have seen something or felt something because at some point everybody was like, "Okay, it's time," and y'all kind of left within that
exodus.
Yeah,
like, real. It was an exodus. No, that's true, man. And I think the way I looked at Courtesy of, like as far as like you say, like it was the birth of the scene. I felt like Ohio was kind of having like a renaissance at that time, bro. Because like what we did and our intention was like, how do we, you know, bring all the young creatives in Ohio together and just inspire them to, you know, to create, whether it's photographers, videographers, DJs, artists, etc. And that's exactly what we did. You know, we would book hosts from Cleveland, DJs from Cincinnati, and everybody would make that trip down, you know, once a month or whatever. And it would just kind of be that, allowing us to kind of, you know, immerse ourselves within one another and network, and all types of connections came from that era. So
would you say collaboration was a key part of your growth or just your exposure to new opportunities, to new scenes, new markets, new artists? Would you say that, like, how would you position collaboration in your job?
100%. 100% collaboration was very key. Funny enough, you know, the collaboration, I think, within Columbus was a little bit, it was just interesting. I'll say that. But, you know, being able to tap in with my Cleveland homies, my Kentucky homies, Cincinnati, Chicago, you know, I think even some homies from Indiana would come and pull up sometimes. Just being able to kind of borrow a certain brand equity from different people and creatives, it allowed us to create something that was bigger than us.
Sure.
So,
and I think that kind of rubbed off on the scene today, because at that time there was people like, all right, you a photographer and I'm a party promoter. We might hang together, but now I'm seeing like just groups of young kids where one is a videographer, one's a photographer, one got a clothing brand, one, you know, everybody in the crew does something. And now they like coming together instead of like you doing your stuff, I'm doing my stuff. We do something together every now and then. now I'm seeing, the youth come in waves of like, this is our team and we all do something creative and we all feed off of each other and help each other. So I feel like, I can't pinpoint a turning point in Columbus where I started to see that, but now I've been just seeing it more and more and more. And personally, from my personal journey, collaboration has been probably the key, building those relationships, maintaining those relationships. And I see when you go to New York, whether you're in LA, when you're in Atlanta, it's kind of like you don't go to these different cities and skip a beat. It's just like you ingrained in the culture, the music culture as a whole, and not just in a certain market.
Yeah.
And I think that's dope.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, like we talked about earlier, and you was talking about the, the growing pains in DC, Chicago. Yeah. You got to New York, you said, Chris was the one that kind of like sparked it. Explain like those early days in New York and then like where you at now, because it's crazy now, when I come out there to see you, it's like, they treat you like you've been living there your whole life. And it just it's wild to me, because it's just like, oh, that's Jordy. Like, and I'll be like, now they really know you out here. You know what I mean? Like, even for your birthday, this past year, you booked the venue, they messed it up, and you was able to get a new venue and out. Like, you wouldn't have been able, like in Columbus, it would have been a wrap. You wouldn't have been able to, the party would have been over with. So I think it's important to talk about like, your growing pains in New York and like where you at now in New York.
Yeah, man. So, funny enough, I'll just start with the move to New York. That move to New York was crazy. We packed up a SUV from Enterprise, rented a B&B for a month, and just decided to figure it out. As soon as we got there, I think we just, to your point, tapped into our relationships and our network and kind of seen what, where our skills would be valuable. Some of those first moves were this company called Slam Height, where DB was at. And I think our first, like one of the early wins was doing some early work with Uzi at Atlantic. So we were working on our project manager, Ali B. And we had that relationship with Uzi from South by and bringing him out here. So shout out to Lake, and that team that, kind of embraced us. So just doing some of that early work on, I think it was Love is Raised too. Will did some photography, did that, the billboard, all that good stuff.
Sure.
That solidified us a little bit more, just like from a financial standpoint and making some money. And then also too, just kind of immersing ourselves into the actual music industry. Because, we come from an entertainment background essentially, right? So, being able to be in Atlantic every day and, even hit some of those other offices, that was kind of the culture then back then too. Was like, how do you get into these offices, have conversations, let people know who you are, what you do, what your value is. That was our main goal as soon as we got out there. But yeah, man, those, like, we were saying earlier that those weren't really the hard days. Yeah. The hard days kind of, came a little bit after we were there.
And I don't want to cut you off, but you made some real good points that I think will be very valuable to anybody watching this. First thing, you just got up and you went. And a lot of things that you've done is you just been trying it. Like you seen a window opportunity, you went for it. And if you didn't know if it was going to work, you didn't have, you weren't given these opportunities, you created them and then you took advantage of them. And I think that's, something that the viewers can really see value in is sometimes you just got to do it. You just got to try. You just got to, you see something that's interesting to you, something that's calling you. It's just important to like, sometimes you just got to jump off the porch
100%.
And you never know what's going to happen. But the confidence that comes from that success, that win that you had with Kendrick Lamar, it paved the whole road to what you're doing now. If you would have never jumped off the porch and did that, you might have stayed in school. You might be a videographer today.
Yeah.
But another thing that you have mentioned is as soon as you got out there, you were looking for places where you could add value. And I think that's the key to building relationships. That's the key to getting in rooms. That's the key to, everything. Anytime you enter a situation, like everybody's mindset is, what can I get from it? Like, how much money can I get from it? Am I get some clout up off of it? Some whatever. But the more important thing is, how can I add value to it? That's how you build them genuine relationships. That's how you can continue and further your journey. And that's just, I wanted to touch on that because that's just super valuable. And I think there's definitely a lesson to be learned.
No, 100%. That's a good point, man, because, even you think about the talent we be working with, they're always ascending, they're on their way up. So adding value to people who don't need a lot is even more of an interesting, situation. So to your point, that's definitely how we approach it. How can we? I always tell people we do artist development. Everything we've ever done. Those early shows, helping those artists get out here and get in front of new fans, hitting the Midwest for the first time. Going into management and now having distribution. Everything is always about helping artists develop and helping artists grow. So to your point, add value to to an artist or a company or a brand, whoever. Definitely an easy way to make things happen. And I think a lot of people lose that. So I'm glad you said that, because nowadays everything seems so attainable via Instagram, right?
For sure.
I want this, I want that.
Yeah.
I want these opportunities, but why are people giving you those slots or those opportunities?
And it's not, and like you said, everything now is I want this, I want that, and it's almost like I want it instantaneously. I want it right now, or I expect it to be something that happens quick. But we talking about started in Columbus, went to DC, went to Chicago, came back, went to New York. You've been doing this for near a decade at that point, not even where you are today,
right.
But you had to go through it to get to it. Like
right.
it wasn't just an overnight thing. It wasn't just, Jordy moved to New York and he got to work with these artists. It's like, nah, bro, I've been doing this. I was doing Off High. I remember Off High with you and Chris. I remember, you know what I'm saying? We talking about the shows, the events. This is a decade in the making before you even get to scratch the surface. And I think that's something important for people to understand is it's just not what you do, it's who you are. This is just you as a person. You was doing this before the bread came in. From my personal conversations with you, it was never I'm doing this for the bread. It's not what you did, not what you do. It's just who you are as a person. And that resilience, just and that eager to learn. Like you said, you love school, you love being in them environments, and that alone, it's kind of what it takes to be successful, especially in the music industry. So now you in New York, you go into these labels. Like what transpires from that? Like what ends up happening after, all this time?
Man, where do I start, bro? Man, things happen so fast, bro. And to your point earlier, it's rare that I get a solid moment to kind of look back and really reflect. But that like I said, the Uzi situation was really cool. We met a ton of teams through just being in that building. We did some early stuff for A Boogie, not a lot, but we met A Boogie and the High Bridge team. But I think what that did, man, it kind of taught us a new business model essentially, right? Okay, we do have services to offer labels. Okay, project managers are going to be the people that are going to hire us. Who else in this building needs what we do, and what other buildings need our work? So that was a learning point for us to say, all right, outside of parties and events, because that was never really the biggest goal of all of this, right? How can we continue to get paid as we continue to build what we want Animal House to be? While also growing our brand, getting paid, et cetera.
So would you say that's the moment where you transition from hustling to doing business? Where the first is just the grind, it's just get in where you can, it's shake this hand, shake that hand to lead to this opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like, now we offering services. Now we got to implement systems and really build this thing as a company.
Yeah.
Is that the moment where you felt that transition?
Yeah, nah, it probably is, man, because it actually took me a while to get paid from Atlantic, because I didn't even really know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I didn't know how to get put into their system. I didn't know, I kind of knew, but I didn't really know. I needed to just submit a scope of work and, tally up kind of what we had going on. So yeah, I think that whole process, because, the music industry, you don't go get your money, they won't pay. You know what I'm saying? So, just being in that environment and being like, okay, all right, bet. Yeah, we in New York. We gotta run it this way. So yeah, it definitely was a good learning point for us.
So at what point does third shift come into play?
Yeah. Good question. Yeah. Yeah.
Because third shift, you got some, we could talk just about some of the moments that have happened throughout the journey, because I've been a part of some of them, just going to the functions and just being around. We could talk for hours just about some of the things.
You already got moments.
But courtesy of had its moments. Animal House has some crazy moments. Third Shift
Yeah.
has some moments, like not just moments like, oh man, that was a good night, but like culture shifting moments, like things that you might be in a New Yorker now, you might be a little jaded and you might be like, oh yeah, so-and-so came through. Oh yeah, this happened. But to everybody else who's not in the scene, who doesn't get to see behind the scenes a lot, some things happen through Third Shift. So first, just kind of talk about how it even came about.
Because that Ice Spice moment was phenomenal.
Man. Man, so Third Shift, we actually started at a spot called Elvis Guest House. Elvis Guest House had a crazy legend already before, we got there.
Yeah.
And we partnered with a group who was doing parties at the time. And from the first one, we was like, oh, we got something here. Yeah. The first one didn't have anything to do with musicians or nothing like that. We just wanted to start something where we could put ourselves out there as curators and tastemakers in New York, tap in with DJs, tap in with, curators and designers and fashion people, all that great stuff. But, to my point, my first time having an artist pull up, it was my birthday, and Nebuchadnezzar pulled up. So that relationship, that happened off relationship. Will was cool with a homie of ours, KJ, who was managing Nebu at the time. Nebu had a hit record, Gassed Up Shorty. I don't know if you know that record.
Sure, definitely.
So Nebu came through, him and Flea, actually. He brought Flea through in the whole Ghost gang. And I think from that moment, we realized, okay, this platform or this party can be used as a platform, just like Courtesy Up was, just like Animal House was. But yeah, man, where do we start with the Third Shift legend, bro? A lot of things happen with Third Shift.
And before you go into some of the stories, is something I find myself doing a lot that has been a constant thing, part of your journey, is curation is a business in itself. Being a tastemaker, knowing what DJs to pair with what musicians, with what hosts, like all these people aren't just like, oh, that person got a lot of followers, that person got a lot of followers, that person's cool. It's like you aiming for a certain audience.
Yeah.
The DJ has to play to that audience. He has to have a following in that audience. Yeah. The host, the people that you partner with, it's all curated for a specific reason. You know what I'm saying?
I always tell people, I look at it like art. You know what I'm saying? It's like putting a painting together for real. Because when it goes off well and you see what you envision, it's almost like a little bit of alchemy, I feel like.
It is.
To a degree.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, being able to put together, certain DJs that might have worked together in the past, or got to tie through a region, or got to tie through a song. Those are all things that you think about when you kind of curating those moments. And we've been able to do it at a pretty high level.
Definitely. So continuing with Third Shift, it is tough to figure out what moment to touch on next, because you don't have people pull up. I done seen videos, not even from you. Like I didn't even make it to your story yet. I'm watching just random people at A$AP Rocky outside, Drake records, off the record. Like it's just been moments, bro. The Ice Spice. So if without probably going into all of them, what are some of your favorite moments that happened? What are some of the moments that they might have happened then, but they helped even you get to a different place or something like that?
I'll talk about, there's three that kind of come to my mind right now. The first one was when A$AP ended up pulling up. Our homie Swoosh God, shout out to Swoosh. He's Queens artist, man. It's my dog. He had a record at the time. The name of the record slipped in my mind, but long story short, man, the stars aligned. I think it was Memorial Day. Booked a regular party, curated the regular way we would. Swoosh God was on fire though, and he pulled up, and he brought, I think we had Flea on that bill as well. And the party got shut down at like 11 o'clock, bro, because people were trying to bum rush the door.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a shit show outside. And Swoosh didn't get to perform. I think A$AP Rocky had a brand new record. He was going to pull up and perform the record. Yeah, it was crazy. But from that moment, what happened outside of that party, it was like 2,000 kids on the block. You know what I'm saying? So we got a ton of media. And that was the first time somebody wrote about what we were doing. I always tell people it's tough. It was tough being out here in Columbus and doing what we were doing, and like for the most part, nobody gave a fuck.
Nobody cared.
You know what I'm
Like,
saying?
nobody ever even seen it. It never even happened.
We didn't. Nobody cared, bro. Nobody wrote about us. We didn't get no press. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
2-3 parties in New York, we on mass appeal. You know what I'm saying? So that was a very affirming moment for us. Big for the brand. You know what I'm saying? Got some media. The second moment, I would say the Drake record.
crazy.
Yeah, the Drake record, God's Plan and Diplomatic Immunity. So for those who don't know, we broke those records. A lot of people say, "Oh, Drake didn't need Joe to break those records," but he came out and said he would have never dropped those records. It was for us. But yeah, man. I mean, the short story is we had a homie who works with Trippie Redd. He had the records. He sent them to us probably in like October of that year, and I couldn't turn God's Plan off. Like, it was infectious, bro.
One of the biggest records, not just of the year,
just
but
playing
in general.
it. Yeah, bro, I'm playing it nonstop. And it didn't even have a second verse on it at the time. And me and Will were just sitting around like, bro, this might be Drake's best record, and it's one verse. You know what I'm saying? And we threw a New Year's Eve party. At that time, I think it was like maybe our second annual one. And we booked Harold, the DJ.
Shout out 808.
Yeah, 808 popped up. Yeah, so he pulled up. And we kind of made a moment out of playing the record.
Yeah.
We had to run it back like 3-4 times though, because I'm looking around like, y'all know what y'all hearing.
Right.
I'm like, yo, hold on, man, stop the tape. Like, it's a Drake record. This shit fire. But we had a homie in there who was doing a little selfie video, and long story less long, we woke up the next morning, that video was all over the internet.
Yeah.
And Complex, Genius, any outlet, hype beast, nobody wanted to miss the moment. So everybody talked about it, right? So it was everywhere, man. And then I think it forced Drake's hand. He put the record out, and that solidified third shift for sure in New York City. Like, oh, okay, they're doing something different.
Yeah.
That reminds us the tunnel era when they was doing some super fire curation in the market. So that kind of put our party into a different space where people look at it as yo, these guys are music men, And then the third, I guess, is a part one and a part two. We booked Ice Spice, I think, like right before Munch came out. And as we were promoting the party, Munch came out. And we booked her for a Fashion Week party, and Munch came out, and it changed the trajectory, obviously, of her career. And our party got shut down at 11 o'clock too. Same thing, too many people outside.
But she did make it. She made it.
She didn't even make it to the party, bro.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm on the phone with the manager. Shout out to James, man. And Riot. Bro, that was a nightmare. I won't even tell the long story, but
yeah,
I almost got into some things that night just because some niggas came through and fucked up a moment for us.
Yeah, that was definitely.
Yeah, they ruined a moment for us and her. I think to that, up until that point, and even now, you think about Ice Spice having like a miss or a bad moment. She doesn't have any stains on her record.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Ice Spice is one of them artists that me and Will talk about all the time, where it's like, yo, this is the ideal career for an artist, bro. Like, she don't miss. You know what I'm saying? The way she handles herself. You look at her, how she's online. No entourage, no drama, no nothing, bro. Just pro. You know what I'm saying? They pros. But yeah, part two of that story, this most recent Fashion Week, she won a VMA. And we had a producer, Riot booked, and she came in and partied with us to celebrate her VMA award.
That's crazy.
So yeah, bro, people look at our party as something cool in the market. I probably do look at it a little bit like, it's another party, but it's definitely something to be, be applauded.
So you connected two different things that you was doing. You've always used parties to work on the music side as well.
Yep.
But it's just something that's been a proven success for you that you've continued. Has there been, like, when you first started doing parties and you connected it to the music with the artist, has it changed from when you first started? Like, when you were doing Animal House, nobody was, doing stuff like that. But now you start to see other people doing it. You start, the game is different. Music is different. The politics in the industry is different the higher you get up. Mm-hmm. So for you personally, has your experience changed connecting events to music or using that event platform for artists than when you first started?
Yeah, man. I think the number one thing that changed, artists get paid a lot more money.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? And then I mean, we all saw Live Nation kind of put a monopoly around the business.
Yep.
So for me, it kind of erased the business model of being like a buyer, essentially, is what they call you, right? If you buying talent in a market, because a lot of the agents, they want you to buy a lot of talent.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? To be one of their preferred go-to buyers. But I'm not taking artists who I don't want to promote, put on my platform. And then two, you know, a lot of times these artists want the, you know, certain bags that end up having a promoter or a buyer break even. You know what I'm saying? So now that process is being done in-house at venues, and the venues are really only making money off the bar. They probably break even off the talent and bank on the bar doing big because they bring that talent in.
That's it. You touched on a good point. Right. What are some of those politics? You spoke about, okay, so for people who don't know, one of the political moments might be, political challenges might be, okay, if you want to book an artist for me, you got to book these other two or three too, just to get to that one where everybody want to book this one. So in order to get to it, you got to book these other artists, or you can't just book one show. If you want to book this artist, you got to book 3-4 shows. That might push out somebody who's an independent person, and it might be more favorable to a Live Nation or a big event company. Like, what are some of those politics you had to navigate throughout the journey and still?
Yeah, I mean, I think you touched on it perfect, bro. I never had an agent just flat out say, yo, I'm not giving you this artist if you don't take these other artists. But, you know, they'll throw me other artists. And if you want to stay in that agent's good graces or, you know, prefer, you know, stay on their phone, you should probably take those artists. So I think, like I said, I kind of just abandoned that model because I know I didn't want to go that route.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the politics, even in the fashion industry. Like as a buyer, you know, if you got one brand and you're trying to go after, you know, I won't say no names, brand names, but you're trying to go after a brand who might see themselves, you know, up here, they don't want to be positioned in a store next to another brand, you know, so you got to get this brand to get this brand to get this brand to get this one. But then on the other end, it might be a showroom who represents 10 brands. And you want the hot one that everybody wants. So they're like, all right, you want this brand, you got to bring in these other 3 or 4. You know what I'm saying? So the politics they kind of share, they kind of mirror each other in that way. Which, you know, I asked that question because a lot of people want to be in the music industry. Everybody want to be the artist. But you're somebody who's found success navigating in different spaces. You know, everybody can't be Ice Spikes. But there are people who can learn from your journey and find their own path in a similar way. So I ask these questions just, you know, to give some insight and information to somebody who might see what you're doing and it might be like, man, that's what I want to, you know, that's something that I could see myself doing.
Yeah, man. No, I never really described the challenges as politics because I don't play the politic game. You know what I'm saying? I try to be as genuine as I can be and just, you know, work with people who appreciate what we do and want to establish a decent relationship, even if it's just a working relationship, right? So, you know, I don't really politic a lot, and you know, some people are good at it. You know what I'm saying? But that's not my legend. So, you know, if I had to address just, you know, people, I guess, experiencing challenges politically, you know, I would just to our earlier conversation, just learn how to provide value, man. That's the number one thing, and you know, the other shit, it just kind of erase itself. You know what I'm saying? If you coming with, you know, value, good ideas, you a good person, you responsive, you know how to talk on the phone, send an email, just be a professional. You know, most things will work themselves out.
So, you know, with all that being said, I guess my question would be like, what's next for Jordy? And what are you, I don't want to say the end goal, because I know things change and, you know, interests change, but what are you trying to accomplish with your company? Like ideally, where would you like to see your company at?
Yeah, man. How much do I want to give to people?
I mean, you know, if you don't really want to talk about like what's next, you know, we get it, but I would say what's the ideal for like Jordy and Animal House?
Well, I mean, right now, man, our biggest project is, you know, the distribution arm of Animal House, which kind of positions us as a label. You know, funny enough, I was in LA talking to, you know, my homie at Def Jam, and I was just telling him that I'm just kind of really embracing that process right now because I want to learn that part of the business. I've done a little bit of everything in this business, artist management, booking, and some of the, creative project management, talking to the DSPs and all that good stuff. So yeah, this distribution arm is probably our current challenge right now. And yeah, man, just learning the ins and outs of that. I want to bring back our concerts as well, and just bigger events in general. I think concerts are kind of one dimensional, and that's what Animal House even earlier on kind of broke that stigma of what a concert felt like. So I really want to get back into that space because I feel like curation, we kind of losing the art of curation because of the internet.
Yeah.
Right. It's like everybody's just following the algorithm. It's not really people aren't really choosing what they like if you really break it down.
Sure.
Everybody's being fed something nonstop. So yeah, we working on some things in the event space that I want to do at just a bigger level. I think I've been doing all this on my own for 10, 12 years, bro. So really just solidifying some solid partners going into this new year to be able to elevate everything that we got going on, both on the music side and the event side. But to your point, Des, the goal has always been to establish Animal House as a label, so we having a lot of conversations about what that might look like. The JV situation, whether or not we want to, partner with a label or choose, some outside funding or outside capital, and kind of really go that independent route. So those are the current goals and aspirations.
All right. So with the conversation, I mean, I know what you're talking about because, I'm into music, but you used a lot of terms and so I want you to kind of for the listener out there that may not understand what you're talking about. So if you kind of break down what is distribution and how that works. You said JV, what's a JV? Can you you know what I mean? Some of these terms that you're using, somebody might be interested in music, but they don't know this terminology that you're using. So it's going to be kind of going over their head. So you can kind of, even DSP.
Yeah. I mean, distribution is just essentially how do you get this music to the fan, to the stores? How do we put the product in your hand? Back in the day, it was printing up CDs and going, getting your product in the Best Buys and Targets of the world. And, it's still part of that if that's, how you want to put your product out. But primarily now it's just taking the music and getting it to all the digital streaming platform is what a DSP is. So your Spotify's, your Apple Music, your Amazons, your Titles, and then even, SoundCloud and Audio Mac as well. So yeah, that's the distribution. JV is what you call a joint venture. That's how a lot of record labels get empowered. They partner with a bigger label.
Can you give an example of who might have a JV?
Well, Cash Money is at Republic. Young Money is under Cash Money. Who else?
QC is somebody
who's current. That QC did an early deal with 300.
Yeah.
Then they restructured and I think went over to Capital.
Then they
Motown.
But they sold their stuff to Scooter.
Yeah.
Which is Justin, got to put Justin Bieber on. I just want the people out there listening,
sure. In this, this short time that we got together, it's so many things. It's a lot. Your journey is very inspiring. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of things to be learned. But the most value I see is just trying to tap into your mind and how you view things, how you see things, because you give a unique perspective.
Yeah.
And your perspective on music and business, is very enlightening, not just to the viewers.
It's the road less traveled.
It's the road less traveled. And it takes a specific type of person. You talk about a lot of the things you had to overcome, but you also just mentioned you want to learn the distribution part of the business. Yeah. It's you over a decade in the game and you still want to learn.
Yeah.
I think that's a very important part. That's something that we brought up multiple times in this conversation. It's just your passion continues to drive you to learn new things, to expand, to scale your business, and to even think about doing joint ventures and how, you can position your company in the marketplace to scale.
Yeah.
That's something that is very inspiring to see, you still continuing with that, you still continuing to learn, still continuing to grow. And I guess, before we go, I want to ask you a couple questions. One, who are some of your favorite artists in the game today? And if you could start your label with 3 artists of your choice, who would it be?
I don't know if I can answer that.
A little political.
I can answer the first one. My favorite artist, man. It's funny, man, because people be surprised what I listen to. Because I used to do a lot of artist discovery where I'm like, yo, what's next? You know what I'm saying? Now I kind of lean on my homies, and it's so much product out now, bro. It's hard to really. It's not even hard to find. It's hard to care, bro. Like it's just too much. You know what I'm saying? But I listen to a lot of Drake, a lot of Future, more Future probably than anybody else. Gunna had a good year this year.
Great year.
Who else am I listening? I listen to, my artists, Flea from Queens, my homie Key. There's this kid out in Atlanta that I like a lot. His name is Until Japan. He's a young guy. I think he's like 18. He's fairly undiscovered for the most part. People know who he is though. Who else, man? I actually do listen to a little bit of Ice Spice. You feel me? There's a group of women out of Atlanta right now that are kind of pushing this new flow / sound forward, bro, and it's just fire. Chick named Caribou, you probably heard her. She's on Youngest label. Anicia.
Okay.
And then my homegirl Spook, she's fire too, man. So it sounds kind of like some like Detroit, Atlanta centric kind of rap type shit. Where it's just real calm and kind of got a little bit bravado to it. Yeah. So I'm listening to a lot of that right now. Always listening to the New York stuff, Cash Go Bang, my homie Kels. It's a lot. But if I'm in the gym, I'm probably turning on some Future, maybe some Moneybagg Yo or something like that.
Do you listen to any? We talk about a lot of current and upcoming artists. What about the OGs? Like you rocking with any of the OGs, or that's not really your vibe?
How old we going?
We talking Mobb Deep. We talking Escobar and dropped a few projects recently.
That's not Jordy's bag at all.
My bag. Maybe some Jay-Z.
That's a staple.
Yeah, maybe some Jigga. You feel me? That's about it.
Okay.
Yeah. If I'm going oldies, I'm going oldies, old R&B type, clean my house type. You feel me? But old school rap, nah, not for real. Maybe some Cameron, I might run some Dipset, you feel me?
Sure.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, man.
Dope. Well, man, look, we appreciate it, bro. And like I said, I wish we had another hour to even go in more detail. We got to set up a part 2 for sure. Next one, we're going to be in New York. You're going to have to show us the roads less traveled in New York. We're going to pull up when you're at the label, man. So
for sure.
Now we definitely appreciate you, man. Great conversation. Definitely a lot of gems for the people to take away from this, which is the ultimate goal, man. We really want to just kind of give exposure to unique careers and just people thinking outside the box and help people think, everybody think when you think of work, it's just like, man, I gotta go to work. You know what I'm saying? It's never, I get to go to work. And we want to sit down with people who wake up every day like, man, I get to do this for a living. Like, bro, I really get paid to do this, or, this is really my calling. So, you fit that perfectly, man. And we really just appreciate you taking the time to come and sit with us.
For sure, man. Appreciate y'all for having me, dog.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Any words you want to lead out with before we get up out of here?
Get the people some gems, man. Come on, you can give us a yay red. I knew it.
Nah, I mean, I think we talked a lot about my journey. But I think more than anything, man, I didn't really dive into all the challenges. You know what I'm saying? Like everyday challenges.
For sure.
The L's, the losses. I think those are, the most important probably stories people need to hear because, we look at Instagram and we don't see nothing but wins.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Highlight reel.
But I would say if I'm, just to people that want to take this path or are pursuing something creatively or just pursuing anything in life, man, just, losses are a part of the journey. You know what I'm saying? You got to embrace them. I always tell people you can't get too high on the highs or too low on the lows.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And 9 times out of 10, a loss is just an opportunity to learn. But you really got to take the opportunity to learn the lesson in those losses. Otherwise, you keep repeating that and you ain't gonna get nowhere.
For sure.
But yeah, man, just hard work get you, hard work goes a long way. So persistence, man, belief in yourself, belief in God too, man. I keep God first in my life, bro. I got to shout the man upstairs out. So
Definitely.
Yeah.
So you have it, right?
My dog, appreciate you, man. Thank you, bro.